fight for country of origin labelling for food products in Australia has ramped up to a frenzied degree, especially for seafood. But the arguments being waged, especially by the National Seafood Industry Alliance, are somewhat hypocritical. On the one hand, the organisation pleads for country of origin labelling for all seafood products. But then, the industry itself has thrown a big spanner in the works. The Alliance membership is drawn from groups such as Wild Catch Fisheries South Australia, Queensland Seafood, Seafood Industry Victoria and the like. However, let's take prawns as an example of this hypocrisy. On the 400-gram packet of Global Seafoods Market Sea Selections, they sell Australian wild-caught king prawns, raw, peeled and deveined at about $19 a pack. That's about $50 a kilo. But then in the fine print on the back of the packet, it states, processed and packed in Thailand. It's packed for global seafood distributors in Western Australia. The packet also states, sustainably wild-caught prawns caught in Australian waters by Australian fishermen. But it's processed in Thailand. Figure that one out. So how would this be labelled? The processing, the peeling and deveining and the water used for flushing are all from Thailand. What health regulations are followed? The bottom line here is that it's cheaper to fish the prawns, package them and send them to Thailand for processing to be returned to Australia for reselling. Since June 2006, it has been a legal requirement that seafood sold to the Australian public must be clearly labelled with its country of origin. These regulations were introduced by the federal government to ensure consumers are accurately informed about the origin of their seafood. Unfortunately, this requirement is only binding on retailers of fresh seafood. Venues selling fish for immediate consumption, including restaurants, clubs, bars, and even fish and chip shops, are exempt from this labelling requirement. So let's take garfish as an example, being sold in restaurants. This image, taken by the South Australian Fishing Alliance in June this year, clearly shows imported garfish fillets sold in our restaurants came from China. The state opposition leader, Stephen Marshall, was shocked to learn when we spoke with him recently that the garfish he was eating at a local eatery most probably came from China. He's not alone. Do our state politicians know if the seafood they're tucking into when they sit down at the parliamentary dining room is locally caught? Do they ask? Most fish and chip shops in South Australia sell butterfish. But the butterfish is actually fish supplied from South Africa. On the chalkboards, it's just simply labelled butterfish. I agree there is an urgent need for country of origin labelling, especially for seafood. When you sit down to a feed of barramundi, you just accept it's sourced from northern Australian waters, not the farmed barra from Asia, which is normally served. The profit margins are higher when you can upscale and inflate the price because the average Joe hasn't a clue on where that fish actually came from. But let's have all of the bases covered when it comes to setting the law. Let's not use cunning marketing to sell a product labelled locally caught, but have it processed overseas. The National Seafood Industry Alliance needs to have its ducks all in a row and on board to put its case. The rogue element can bring it all undone.